Good morning. It is Saturday, September 26, 2020. You can now relax and be informed. Here is your daily bite of news. President Trump has selected Judge Amy Coney Barrett as his open Supreme Court seat candidate. He plans to formally announce the decision today, Saturday. She is known as a conservative and a supporter of the anti-abortion movement. Trump is pushing to rush her official nomination by Election Day in a bid to potentially gain one more decisive fifth justice on his side in case of disputes from voting in November, which is expected to happen. If confirmed, Judge Barrett will be the 115th justice in the nation's history and the fifth woman to serve on the Supreme Court. In New York City, Mayor Bill DeBlasio ordered the police and sheriff's office to enforce public health guidelines in several Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods in Queens and Brooklyn, where residents often do not wear masks and do not social distance. The crackdown is occurring shortly before Yom Kippur, and it was not immediately clear the impact that the measure might have on the ability to gather in synagogues. In the absence of our doing the right thing, we will need to be in a lockdown-type situation, just as has occurred in Israel, said Dr. Mitchell Katz, head of New York City's health and hospitals. Residents have been resisting the guidelines because of hostility toward Mayor de Blasio and their admiration for President Trump's conservative politics. Public announcements by de Blasio about shutting down yeshivas and even dispersing a rabbi's funeral haven't endeared him to the community, who say he is being harsher on them than on Black Lives Matter protesters. Oregon Governor Kate Brown declared a state of emergency in Portland on Friday as authorities anticipated violent clashes between the Proud Boys, Patriot Players, and Black Lives Matter protesters. The Proud Boy and Patriot Players group come to Portland out of state looking for a fight, and the results are always tragic, said Governor Brown. Those looking to stoke the flames of violence, looking for a fight, will be held accountable. Portland shall be flooded with state troopers and deputies on Saturday to help with crowd management, who will also be authorized to use tear gas if needed. The United States House of Representatives just passed the Crown Act, which would legally prohibit discrimination for one's hair based on a form of race or national origin. CROWN stands for Create a Respectful and Open World of Natural Hair. The bill will now go to the Senate for consideration. The law had also just gone into effect in Colorado, the seventh state to adopt the discrimination bill since its begun in California, but now it may go national. Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar called the passage of the bill long overdue and noted it is an essential step. For too long, Black women have been penalized for simply existing as themselves. That ends today, she said. In Denver, Colorado, the city is looking to set up sanctioned and managed campsites for the homeless. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock has identified 3 potential areas that already have tent cities on location. The camps would be temporary, but would be staffed 24/7 and would have access to sanitation sources, clean water, and laundry. The camps would be managed by the Colorado Village Collaborative and other nonprofits. The official sites have not been finalized yet, and the city is going to be having official meetings and talks with neighborhoods at this point. There is a goal for August to finalize where the Safe Outdoor Spaces project shall occur, potentially on state-owned land. Wealth taxes, where the rich are taxed on the assets they own rather than their earnings, represents one of the popular new policy ideas to be floated to deal with the COVID-19 economic fallout. Many countries who had tried a wealth tax in the 1990s have abandoned the practice, though. In 2018, only 3 OECD countries still implemented wealth taxes, due to the fact that in practice the wealth tax caused the wealthy to simply take their capital and flee. France lost double the actual revenues gained from its version of a wealth tax, so they abolished it in 2017. The only way to effectively tax the wealthy seems to be if they consent to it. smart wealth taxes supposedly can preserve capitalism in its most sustainable and meritocratic forms if done certain ways. The ancient Greeks levied what was called the asphora wealth tax on the richest Athenians, particularly in times of war. Given the effects of the pandemic, some argue there may be call for a modern-day post-COVID asphora. Rather than taxing all assets, one option is to tax liquid assets only above a certain threshold. There is about $80 trillion in broad money in the world that is currently much of which untaxed. A levy of 2% on this would raise $1.6 trillion. This levy would encourage the unused assets to be invested in the economy to avoid the tax, which ultimately benefits society. This benefit would be even more significant if the government then incentivized areas of investment that would do the most good. If given the choice to either be taxed or to invest and circulate the wealth, many wealthy will choose to do the latter. Well, that's all for today's news. If you would like to read more on any of these topics, we invite you to see our description below for sources. Subscribe if you'd like to receive a daily news update. Thank you so much for listening. Be relaxed, be informed, be connected.